Shirazette, you mentioned that you've played at a number of places around the planet. Pardon me. I'm sure you play for people, and I'm sure you work with people who have never heard this music before. Their first taste of it is through you. What kind of response do you get from people who really don't know anything about jazz?
I've gotten responses from both sides of the spectrums. The one I get the most is, wow, I don't like jazz, but now because of hearing your band or hearing you guys play, I like jazz. Because I think a lot of people have this boxed mindset that jazz is just this one era. And they might think of jazz as just, for example, just big band. And they don't realize that jazz, goes into the Miles Davis era. Even when he started dealing with electronic music, that whole era, that's still jazz. I was having an argument with one of my neighbors downstairs. I respect my elders, so I let him say what he needed to say, and I was like, okay. But in the back of my mind, I was like, he has no idea. But it would take me hours to educate him on what jazz really is. Then I get the other side of the spectrum of, wow, I didn't know that fell in the jazz category. I remember the first time I started listening to other styles of jazz, I was only into big band and straight ahead. And then my mind was open to free jazz. I never knew how to play it until I moved to Chicago and I started playing with people in the AACM and getting familiar with free jazz, and it was just like, oh wow, so you don't want me to play time? What? What do you mean you don't want me to play time? That's what I'm here for. I'm here to play time.
I'm a drummer.
Right. So then it changed my whole mindset to make me realize, oh wow, there's different forms of jazz, which I believe helped open me up to like other styles of music, to make people really realize, and when people come to me, I'm able to appreciate their, I wouldn't say ignorance, but not really understanding, oh, there are different forms of jazz, and then we have conversations, and then they're brought into the light. They've been enlightened, and most of my experiences have been people saying, I'm going to go buy your album, or I'm going to start listening to jazz, or they'll ask me, what album do you recommend to listen to for starters? And I usually say get A Kind of Blue, because that seems to be a middle ground for a lot of people to start listening to jazz. And then I tell them to go backwards and then go forward. And I do the same, honestly, with listeners, with my students as well, because I have a lot of students that want to play like Dennis Chambers. And I'm like, okay, we can get there, but you do realize that you have to study those people or listen to those people that Dennis Chambers was listening to first before you can play like Dennis Chambers, because there's no instant gratification in anything. So as a listener or as a player, you have to take time to be patient to understanding a new style of music. It goes for anybody, a listener or a player. So most of my experiences with listeners have been they start liking jazz and they want to hear more of it.
Yes, I would agree with that as well.